Welcome back to Dummy Boy Finance. I'm Dummy Boy, and we had major news come out this weekend. US Congress passes the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill after weeks of Democrat infighting. And so why is this so beautiful? Remember all of those stocks that were going crazy early on in 2020 and 2021. They all related to renewable energy. They all related to electric vehicles, whether it was charging stations, whether it was the batteries, whether it was the cars themselves. We saw a major push in the EV revolution, but over the last 8-9 months, we have seen a steady decline in a lot of these stocks. Why this was so major for all of those stocks is because this $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill has segments where there's going to be a portion of money put to each sector. And so the sector that I want to cover today is charging stations. EV charging stations are going to be the norm. We look outside, we see gas stations around every single corner of where we live. And so we're going to start to see a slow transition from gas stations to electric charging stations. It's not going to happen overnight. It is going to be a process. But if you're able to buy at the beginning of the process, when the process is mainly an idea, it's not really for certain. This right here proved to us, and it's stamped to us, that EV charging stations are going to be a massive investment for the future, not only by the government, but people who have an ability to buy these charging stations at a very low cost relative to what they're going to be worth years down the line. And so 3 charging station plays that we're going to go over right now: ChargePoint, BLNK charging, and we're also going to look at Plug Power. So the first stock we're looking at is Plug Power. This is one of the more mainstream plays in the charging stations. And so 2 very simple indicators that I have put on this stock. Firstly, we have an uptrend line. This uptrend line has been a great indicator on Plug. Anytime you get this on this level of support, it does show that this has been a great time to buy. It always leads to a higher price. Now, the second thing that I want to mention that is beautiful about this play is you see this line right here that says 0.5. This right here is our make or break line, kind of like our MACD. Whenever we're above this level, that is kind of when we know that this stock has good strength and momentum moving forward. However, once we're below this point, it doesn't look the greatest for the stock in the short term. And so if I zoom in on our price action, today we actually got above this point. And so you can see the last couple of days we have been clawing, but we did close on Friday below this point. But then today, after knowing that the bill has been passed, we saw a lot of money come into charging stations. And this right now could be the beginning of a short-term run for all of these charging stations. This right here is an extremely bullish signal. If I look at our MACD here on the daily, you can see bulls have full control of this stock. There is no downside pressure just yet. RSI could cool off, but I could still see it surge in the short term. You can see our accumulation has stayed steady. We have not seen people sell, so that right there is a great sign. So Plug Power right now is showing more strength, backed by the infrastructure bill. The second charging station stock we're looking at here is ChargePoint Holdings. So ChargePoint today surged 11.79%, and I have mapped out a short-term symmetrical triangle on ChargePoint. And so the reason why I've been watching this chart is because I expect this stock to face resistance here at around $29. And between $29 and $30, this stock will have some issues. At that point, I do expect it to get rejected and eventually come back down into this triangle. What I'm looking for in ChargePoint is a break of this level of resistance and a back test. Once we get that back test, this stock is going to explode. And the reason why I say that is because whenever you have a symmetrical triangle like this and it breaks to the upside, it usually has a very nice run for a couple days where you could capitalize on very nice price action. So right now with ChargePoint, I am looking to see if we get rejected by resistance. If we do, then I do know we will play out the rest of this triangle, and then we don't know where this one wants to break, but we want to see a break and back test. If we're looking at our accumulation, it doesn't look as good as Plug Power. You could see recently we have started to see an increase in accumulation, but again, our money flow is not the same it is with Plug. But I did want to mention ChargePoint because it's also a very strong momentum play when you have news that comes out that relates to infrastructure and relates to renewable energy. This leads us to our third stock here, and that is BLNK Charging Co. So BLNK Charging is one of the more prolific plays in my opinion. This stock has had a lot of attention. It's had very negative news. It has very great news. But the biggest thing to mention is look at our accumulation over distribution. Of all three stocks, this one has the best so far accumulation. That isn't the only indicator though we look at to see if this is the best play. When I'm looking at our MACD on this one, you can see our orange line has now officially broken into the positive territory. Our blue line is well above. And so we could see price action cool off because we are at a level of resistance. As you guys can see, today we got to that level of resistance and we got rejected. And so let's see if we can build the strength to break past this level of resistance. If BLNK passes this level of resistance and a back test, this will be a play, in my opinion, that will be surging in the short term. And so if you're watching this stock, look for the breaks and the back test. So with BLNK, this top level is what we want to break and back test to confirm. If we're looking at ChargePoint, we want to break and confirm on this top level of resistance. And if we are looking at Plug right now is holding its 50 line on its fib retracement, which is a very strong sense of power. In conclusion, these three plays have very similar setups. They have a very similar backing. Most people who are in the renewable space and in the charging space most likely have a bundle of these plays and not just one. And so I do think that is the best way to play these charging stations. Instead of trying to pick the one, just have a bundle of them. You don't need to go all in on one. It's not a bad idea to diversify them because there is a lot of potential for a lot of companies to start charging stations. And so I just wanted to make this video because this infrastructure bill is huge for the green energy space. And so now's the time that you should be hunting and looking back into those plays that are going to be helped by government money. And now that this bill has officially passed, I'm not going to tell you guys to buy these plays right now because there's a lot of hype on these plays. This infrastructure bill has been in the making for a very long time. And so those keen investors kind of already knew this was going to happen, and so they may have taken the opportunity on weak share price to capitalize, knowing that this infrastructure bill would eventually get passed. And so right now there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of momentum. It's not the best time to enter, especially because we are at resistance. However, if we break resistance and we back test, then we are in a great place to enter. And so always remember that. So I wanted to bring up these three plays because I think these are going to benefit very heavily by this bill. And I think over the next decade, we are going to see prolific gains that relate to charging stations. And so if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to like. We are on the road to 10K subs. So if you made it to this point, feel free to hit that subscription button. If you guys want to get real-time buy, sell alerts, come over to my Patreon. I will be leaving the link in the description. Otherwise, I hope y'all have a fantastic day today. This is Dummy Boy Finance. I'm Dummy Boy, and I'll see you guys in the next one.